This will be a really quick video, as the project itself was. I mean, the painting scheme spanned for a few days, but only because I took a quick 3-day break. The whole unedited video will be available on the Patreon, so take a look there, guys. But let's get into what was done. So, Bretonnia. I am really not very into this faction. Boo! I prefer vampire counts. But I got the Squire in a blister pretty cheap, so why not? I just knew that I wanted him to get very bright colors, so after the initial phase was done, I gave him a very big white zenithal, which is very unusual for my paint scheme. This helps a lot if you want to paint something yellow. Trust me on that, I'm an engineer. No, I'm not. So he got a black primer and then a white zenithal with a white ink to cover it up. And then it was time for the yellow. I mean, of course you can do it by brush, and probably this is something that I should have done. I mean, the airbrush did perfectly okay. But unfortunately I had to paint some places that I missed. And the blue was added only using the brush. So afterwards I sketched the shadows and the highlights on both of those colors and started glazing. And don't get me wrong, I really don't like the process, but the effect, yes. While glazing is a very powerful and easy to master tool, but it is very time consuming, and I am not a patient painter. Sitting on one spot and putting thin down layers, sometimes dozens if not hundreds, to soften the transitions is a bit counterproductive for a person like me with a big pile of opportunity. Therefore, I still prefer to use it on a small area, on small models, and leave the blending to the airbrush. So after finishing the glazing phase on the coat, I went into the wooden and leather parts. Just a few colors stacked one on the other. Tell me, how often do people see some painted shoes and say, "Wow, those shoes look great on that model"? It is of course possible, but you as a painter make deliberately more pronounced the places you intend your viewer to see. The wooden parts and the shoes are not those elements here. And the same thing goes for the skin. And I really have no idea how this neck protecting thing is called, but I wanted it to be a bit lighter than the rest of the model, so I used the colors I already had on the wet palette. Everything pretty easy so far. And now came the most important part. As I was pretty dissatisfied with how the cloak came out, I wanted the metallics to be spot on. And well, shit. But before I went into them, as a perfectionist psycho, I glazed a few colors into the cloak. The NMM was started with the sword. I put the initial colors on one part of the blade. And then I started mixing the colors and glazing between them. So it was, for example, fat glazing, a little bit of stippling, and line glazing. All this of course to the benefit of the blade. And of course, if one side of the blade was lighter, then the second one had to be a bit darker. And this was the process for the helmet as well, and all of the other metallic parts. Painting the colors and then wet blending, normal glazing, fat glazing, stippling, and a little bit of line glazing. And this went back and forth until the effect was decent enough, or I just didn't want to do it more, I can't remember. Nevertheless, the model needed just a few more details and I could call it done. So let's have a look at him. Another model done. I think he came out pretty okay. I really like the blend of yellow and blue, and the fact that if you wanted to paint a whole bunch of those at the tabletop level, you would just have to prime them Use some contrasts for the cloak, wooden and leathery parts, and some metallic paints for the metals, and he would be done. A whole group probably in one longer afternoon or evening. Fantastic and easy model, yet still one that can have some finesse. So thanks a lot guys for joining me today. You are all top tier and I really mean that. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Give a like, a comment or a share. Have a look at my Patreon or my Instagram as well. So take care guys and see you in the next one. And don't forget, the Emperor protects.